want to welcome you all. This is our second session with the techniques program. Had heard some really good stuff about Gunner's presentation last one, and everything is going to be at that level all the way through because we got some great instructors coming up for sure. Tonight we have
I got into it.
Okay. We have a gentleman that if you don't know him, you heard of him, and if you heard of him, you know him. But he has been a prince and a real mentor to many, many, many of us as far as fly tying is concerned and fly tying techniques. Matter of fact, the first time I ever heard the term techniques was from Al. I didn't even realize techniques existed. Al is a Buszek Award winner, along with his lovely bride, Gretchen, for fly tying excellence in 1999. He's from Boise, Idaho. He's got 68 years at the Vice as a commercial tyer. And tonight he'll share a couple of tricks that will improve your flies with an emphasis on waste management. And he also says, wait till the end. He might have a surprise or two for us in his presentation as far as tips and that. So with that, Al, I will let you take the floor, so to speak, and it's yours.
Thank you so much, Rick. And of course, with me is my lovely bride. And tonight's program, well, let me start for recording purposes. I want to start with an introductory page. So I'll do a pause and then I'll do an introduction, and that's strictly for the recording on the YouTube channel. Hey, welcome everyone to BT's on the Fly. Tonight, we're with Fly Fishers International Techniques, and it's a workshop. We're going to show you how to tie better flies. I'm Al Beatty. And with me is my lovely wife, Gretchen. Tonight, we're going to show every one of you that when you leave the program tonight, if you follow just one of the 3 or 4 things that I'm going to share with you, you can improve the looks of your flies by 20%. That is a guaranteed. So let me talk to you about why I like to do this program. In the early 2000s, Frank Johnson came to Gretchen and me and said he wanted to start an awards program similar to the British Fly Dressers Guild at that time, the Federation of Fly Fishers. And anyway, we got it started. And in the process, Gretchen and I were the first 2 to go through all the steps, the bronze, the silver, and the gold. And we were the first to get it. And then we turned around and we had to qualify Frank, the originator of the program, because he had never been certified in the United States. He'd been certified in Great Britain. And though I think their test is a lot tougher, just to make everybody happy, we certified him. And that's how the first 3 people got involved. Well, what I'm leading up to is there's several hundred now who are in some level or another had their skills checked against a base point, and that's the organization's awards program. And I have probably corresponded with, evaluated, or reviewed at least 400 of those. And in my time as a reviewer / evaluator, I found some common things that caused a lot of points to be lost. I'd see an absolutely gorgeous fly from a fly tyer with obviously a lot of skill, and it would barely get a passing score because of one of 2 things. One of the things is proportions. We're not going to deal with that tonight. We're going to deal with the big culprit, and that is waste management. Now, you might think I'm talking about a truck going up and down the road in front of your house and picking stuff up. No, we're not. Waste management is how you deal with the stuff you trim off and what you do with it. And let me give you an example. I'm just going to flash over to my vise. And right now what you're looking at is the focus fly. But I'm gonna get that out of there.
That thing's looking kind of ragged.
It's got 4 tough years. It started out with the first of COVID. I'm gonna show you something that may seem, oh, kind of hard to understand at first. This is 2 feathers tied on a hook, both trimmed in almost the identical spot. The best that I could do in getting the stem cut off at the same place, here and here. I want you to notice the difference. The one on the left, do you think there might be a big lump of something you got to cover up with your thread or something on that fly? Well, but there's quite a bit on the right-hand side, but the one on the right-hand side will give you an opportunity to use these little guys right out here to make it durable. And those are, excuse me, those are a lot easier to hide than this big old wad like that right there. And that's what we're going to get into. And what I want to do is I'm going to show you the norm. And I'm going to pull these hackles back. Would you do a tight shot, Gretch, number 1? I want you to see right here. That's hackle trimmed off. That's a stub. It's got to be covered up. Now, I know that I trimmed it extra long. I wanted you to be able to see it. But look what I have to cover up with a few turns of thread. Now, one of the techniques, 3 of the techniques that we're going to deal with tonight, I want you to look at this head. What you've got there is a nice clean head, and all we did is bend the parts of the feather in a different direction. This is not skill, guys. It's just the tip that I'm going to give you that will help you get started. Now, we've used the first one that I'm going to share with you. It's called in the program here, we call it the bent rachis. And if you don't know what a rachis is, it's the stem, the quill, the shaft. It's the part that goes down the middle of the feather that you tie down and then you have to trim off. And that's what that is. Now, before I go any further, I want to bring you in on something. All of the stuff that we're going to cover tonight is in the Fly Fishers International Buszek Library. If you go into the chat, you will find where I have put the link to the Buszek Library. And it only has 3 people in there right now. It's got Wayne Llewellyn, Gretchen, and myself. And what we're going to cover tonight in our section, we have a description in text so you can read it. And then there's a 2 or 3 minute video to support each one of these techniques that I'm going to share with you. So if you forget what you see tonight and you can't find it on the YouTube, you can go to the Federation's site. And I really recommend you spend some time going through Wayne Llewellyn's. He's got about 40 tips there, and it covers a very wide range of knowledge for a fly tyer. Is it all important to how your fly looks? Oh, no, not really. But knowledge sometimes helps in getting to an end goal. And you don't always take a straight route to get there. Sometimes the learning process takes you in circles. Believe me, I know. But anyway, let's go back to the vice scratching. And I am going to start with just a simple application. I'm not going to tie a fly. By the way, we will tie a fly tonight. Don't despair. Don't think that all you're going to have to do is listen to Al talk and wrap hackle. You're going to actually get to see a fly go together, and we're going to have some good tips for you on that. But let me reach over here and get my bobbin. And we'll just put that on there. And I'm going to grab one of the many feathers that I've got laying here in front of me. One of the good things about working at Whiting Farms is that when we moved to Boise from Whiting, we had lots of hackle. I'll leave it at that. Okay, now first thing I'm going to show you is a trick on how to put a clean hackle, wrap a clean hackle has not a darn thing to do with what we're talking about, except it's a part of waste management, and it's just a bonus tip that we're getting tonight. I want you to notice how I strip that off. Same top, same bottom. I'm going to show you how it wraps. Now I start to wrap, and I want you to notice that we've got fibers right here. Little barbs sticking out there going in. They're not staying in line with everybody else. All the rest of them are going to look really good. See how those are all? But we've got some that are out of line. Now, does this make a difference to the fishing or to what you think of your flies? Not a bit. But if you're being evaluated at a fly tying contest or for the organization's awards program, there's a very simple fix. It's so simple that a lot of folks don't even know about it. And all you do is instead of, let me just cut this off because I kind of mashed everything up. Instead of pulling everything off like that, same amount on top and the bottom, I am going to take the part that touches the hook first and strip off more of that. So now we have more pulled off of this side than this side. Now let's try tying it on the hook. And I got to pause for a second here because I forgot to grab my glasses and having an awful time seeing what I'm doing right now. Okay, oh, there we go. Now let's start to make our wrap. You see how everything falls in line there, just perfect. It's all laying just the way we want. Not sticking at a wild angle. It's all just the way we want. And all you had to do, you didn't have to increase your skills one little bit. All you had to do was strip a few more fibers off of one side than you did the other. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and wrap this, and I'm going to show you the first, and that's the bent rachis. By the way, I'm using a Dutch Bachman technique right now. We notice how I'm letting the thread hang there. What that does is the weight of the bobbin forces the turns of hackle back against each other. And we will have to make one little correction when we get up there. But what that does is keeps our material all jammed together real nice. So I'm using the weight of the bobbin to keep the feathers nicely aligned. Now what I want to do here is bring that forward so that I let the thread catch up with the materials. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tie this off just like we normally do. 2 turns of thread to anchor the feather so it doesn't come apart. Now, Gretchen and I jokingly call this dog-legging the hackle because now I'm going to bend this hackle back at an angle like that and wrap my thread head, trim out any waste that doesn't want to get with the program. Okay. And what you can see now is we've got a pretty clean head there with the hackle jammed back. And what we do is the easiest way is you could cut it, but the best way to do it is just break it. And remember how these barbs stick up in the air on that one that's broken off on the right-hand side there? Well, the same thing's going to happen here, and the trimmed end will just blend in with the hackle that you've already wrapped, and you'll never see it. It's called waste management, and all you're doing, so you don't have anything, no big lumps out here in front to cover up. So let me just tie that off. And we'll just set that aside for the moment. Now, before I go on, is there any questions on that particular thing? Just chime in anytime. This is a learning experience for us all. But I want you to see that all we did, instead of the way many people tie off their hackle, is we wrapped 2 turns over the hackle and bent it back so that it was out of the way and the waste was hidden back in the already wrapped application. Now, do we have a bunch of comments there, Gretch?
No, it looks like we're good.
Okay, good. Okay, well,
just-
any questions there?
I was taught originally when you tie off anything, 3 wraps behind it, a wrap in front, and you keep going. But I notice, and to me, this is my new world of fly tying because I quit for many, many years. Now a lot of them do what you just call dog legging or wrapping back onto the hackle again. And I've always been curious as to why you do that, but after watching your demonstration, it made sense. That it really locks it in.
It does that, but it does another thing. It takes a head that's perfectly shaped like a V. And what do you want on the head of your fly? What happens too often when you just trim it off and then have to wrap the head, and maybe you get it covered up really well, but your head will always be slightly lopsided because there's more waste buried under one side of the head than the other. But when you dogleg it back, it forms a V and you get a symmetrical head.
We do have a question here. It says, if my hackle twists, is it bad material or bad fly tying by me?
It depends on the material. And being an ex-Whiting Farms person, if it's Whiting hackle, it didn't twist because
Then you were a bad tyer.
you're a bad tyer. No, I have no idea. You gotta look at them very often towards the butt end of the feather where the stem is thicker.
Oh, wow.
As you advance up into the thinner area, there's a point where what I call the sweet spot of the feather, and it won't twist. But very often, if you're just a half an inch more towards the base end of the feather, it'll twist like crazy. And the best thing I can tell you is throw a little bit away and see if that doesn't help you.
Let's see, we have, does the fiber stripping technique allow or apply to parachute patterns?
We're going to get to that.
Okay, we'll come to that. What are your thoughts about cleaning the head with a lighter?
But we don't yet have a complete list of
Somebody's
which
got-
sort.
Hold on.
Yeah, we need to mute someone. So I guess instead of cutting the feather,
Yeah, I lost track of what we were talking about. It's
cleaning the head with a lighter.
a cigarette lighter.
Yeah,
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says. All right. I have never had that kind of guts. In fact, Gretchen and I shot a video for Cabela's one time, and we were moving along pretty well on the darn thing, and Gretchen decided that she would do that very same
Stop.
thing, and right on a video for Cabela's, that just the whole fly went poof. And so you better be awful good with that lighter if you're going to trim and feathers with it. That's all I can say. I don't
Al,
know.
That's the
Al, that
story.
Al, that was my question. I've always cut the small feathers with a pair of scissors, and I've seen people that are using a lighter to get rid of the little fluff feathers, and they say it's easier and better. So I was curious your thoughts.
I've never had any luck with it. I just haven't. So you need to talk to somebody that's having luck with it.
If you had one of those things that they use in surgery on small veins, cauterizing it.
Yeah, we use those.
You have a better luck with it than with a lighter, I think.
Yeah, we use that all the time. And what we're looking at, let me give you a close up. What we're talking about is this device that has a cauterizing tool on the end. And when you push the button, it turns red hot. There's no flame, it's just hot. That works really, really well. But if you're using a cigarette lighter, I've not had good success. Other people might, and I'm ready to learn something. But
Hey, Al,
Rose wanted to know if the last fly, if that head would pass evaluation. No, it would not.
it would not. I'd raise heck with that head because it's got 2 fibers sticking out of it.
And it's too long.
Yep. We're gonna
hey,
get to
Al,
what-
I just saw a recent demonstration of somebody doing the technique that Will's talking about. And what they did is they used their fingers to preen back all the hackle, and then they waved the lighter at it. And it did a pretty effective job of burning those little short fibers over it. But it looked to me like you were going to have to be really fast and really careful with your fingers to get that to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, Barry, I'm not going to recommend that to anyone. If they want to do it, great. Unfortunately, sometimes I think they might do that. It would look good. And when the flies that you're sending to the evaluator reach him, you might find something that had lost its strength and had broken and come apart.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it looked to me like it was either going to singe your fingers pretty badly, or you had a
Oh.
good chance of it going up in a puff of smoke.
I'll bet you, here's something I bet would work. And I'm just what ifing at this point in time. Let's see, I've got them right. What did I do? Here they are. Would you give me the vice picture again, Gretchen?
hey,
Okay.
real quick on that.
You see these things? These are called hackle guards.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Barry, that would do the job really well, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yep, that'd do it. Okay.
Now, that would actually work real well.
Good
Yeah,
gosh.
and in fact, guys, the only place you're probably going to find those now is on my website. And if you want the website, you'll find it in the upper left corner of this screen. Anyway, I'm not trying to sell anything really. I don't care whether you do or not. I would, what we probably should do now though is move on to the next item of making a really good looking head and controlling the waist, and that is bending the barbs. So let's go back to the vise. Oops, get these glasses up here, get the second pair of glasses on. Okay. That over there, get up another hook. Now, on this one, it's almost identical to the other, with one exception, and you'll see what that exception is. I'll just grab my feather here real quick.
Joining me now,
And, hello?
Ned Ryan, founder and CEO of American Dream. And I saw Trump today.
Is somebody talking to us? Like we can't see.
I think it's somebody talking in
Oh,
the background.
okay.
It's anyway, I want you to notice that I've done the same thing as before. More stripped off of one side than the other side, and the side that I strip it off is the side that's going to be wrapped tight against the hook shank. So I'll just tie that in place. And we'll start to wrap. And I'll just pick up the process here now. I don't want that thread to hang there and alrighty. Now, what I am going to do here is take the normal 2 turns, and I have found that sometimes I can get into a problem if I leave it just 2 turns on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily add a 3rd turn and then hold on my bobbin here really tight so that I can break the hackle off. Now I want you to notice that I've got hackle barbs pointing forward, but I broke the stem off right even with the thread. Now I'm going to unwrap. Now from this point, we've got a choice of bending those barbs back, or we could just continue to tie them down like we were tying down before, and then pull them up and trim them off, because there'll be almost nothing left to trim off as far as dimension. But I'm going to show you with the bent back technique. There we go, right there. So I'm just going to sweep those back just like we did before. And there we've got a head that will pass muster. Very easily, evenly. Let me turn that so you can see it better. Nice small head. And I've got to try this, guys. And we may have a train wreck here on the
I knew it was
but
coming.
you just got to, let me get a cigarette lighter out here. Okay, we'll just cut this off. Set that down there. Now let me get my lighter.
You gotta love it when the teacher does the chemistry experiment in front of the whole class.
Let's see, this is a size. That'll be the medium sized one. Okay,
Sorry, Al, I wasn't meaning to bring out your inner pyro.
thanks a lot. Now let's see what happens here.
Work.
Boy, that is so doggone clean. I don't know what to tell you guys. Do you see anything wrong with that head? You guys looking out there?
Like can I still see fibers? You didn't get it
Let me
all the
see
way
two
back.
fibers.
One
You
fiber.
can still see the fibers on the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh, that little rascal.
But I
Let
think
me,
that's
uh,
just because you didn't get him.
Yeah.
Let me
Didn't have the flame. Didn't have the flame in the right. Get a smaller one.
I don't think
That's
you'd have that problem if you were tackle within the right position closer to the eye.
but
I think-
anyway, I think there's some merit here, and we all learned something tonight, including the instructor. And that is that flames can be used on flies without blowing them up.
Just don't let me try it.
Yeah, all that. Gretchen's dangerous.
Hey, that
Anyway,
cautery tool for everybody, it's by Bovie. Okay. You can also take them apart because I figured out how to take it apart and replace the batteries. They don't recommend doing it. But and then there's something called Thread Zap, which doesn't get near as hot. So you can work it up a little bit. It's called Thread Zap too. You can work it up a little bit in closer to the head, but they go through batteries pretty fast.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, let us see what's on the next thing on the list, Gretchen.
Oh, the next thing we're going to tie wraps.
Going to the tie wrap. The tie wrap system is a relatively new system that Gretchen and I have developed over the last several years. Quite frankly, for me, it started way back when I was just first getting started in the late 50s with my mother and her sewing basket. We'll go into that at another time. But anyway, what we're going to do now is just show you the basics of the tie wrap system. And there's several ways to use it. But it provides a stronger tie-off point than anything we've done up to this point, with less waste and less material used. So let's just, I think I got enough feather here to, if not, I'll have to grab another feather here real quick, but okay, let's just pull that off right there and then pull some more off on top. All right, there we go. Tie that in place. Oh, another thing I wanted to show you that can really cause you trouble. I want you to notice that how long of a bare stem that I have here at the bottom. Here's how you can make a mistake, and I see it all the time when I'm evaluating flies. They try to get it tied in right close. And come on, get in there.
Yeah.
And then when you go to wrap, I want you to notice, see how those fibers stick back? Well, it's because you tied it in too close. You need to tie it in on bare stem, so that when you pull it around to wrap it, there's no barbs to stick back on you. The barbs point in one way or another after the wrapping starts, not in the process of bringing it into position to do
You
the
actually
wrapping.
need like about a quarter of a wrap before you even got to the barbels.
Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take hackle pliers and hook it onto this hackle temporarily to hold that feather until while we talk about what we need to talk about. Okay, there we go. Now I want you to notice that I've got, in fact, let me just advance my thread forward just a little bit. There we go. So that you can see that there's the thread is in front of the wrapped hackle. Now what we do with the tie wrap system is we identify where we want the waste to be hidden. And well, if you try to hide it up here in the bear hook, it's going to be difficult to hide. But we already know that we can hide waste pretty easily back here in this wrapped hackle. So what we want to do is wrap around the thread, making certain that the feather is between the tire and the thread. Here's the thread right here. My scissors are placed between me and the thread. That's the position. So we need to take and wrap our feather around the thread so that the turn is facing the hiding point and goes between me and the thread. Then I'll do that again. I'll go behind, wrap around to the front. It's coming between me and the thread, and then it's facing the hiding point. It's going to hide right back there. Do not do anything other than wrap both the thread and the feather together. Okay, and that feather is as tied off as it ever needs to be. I'm going to break the rachis.
Yeah, turn that so we can lie towards us. There you go.
And I want you to see that what we've got there's no waste in that head. And I threw some extra turns on there that I didn't have to. 2 turns was more than enough to hold it. The 2 turns wrapped with the feather wrapped around it will actually hold it very, very well. So you can make your heads as small as you want. All you have to do is tie it off the way we talked about. Now, does that work on everything? Nope, it sure doesn't. It only works on about 80% of the time. There's many things that it doesn't work. Let's get that back off. That it doesn't work on. But any questions before I go on to the next part of this? Okay.
Anything different for soft hackle?
Soft hackles, you do the same darn thing. It's identical. In fact, let me find a soft hackle here real quick, and I'll wrap one, and here they are, and we'll see how that works. Let's see. I've got a feather right there. Now, this is kind of a unplanned,
Sorry.
so I don't even know if that could be one of those feathers that didn't come from whiting that has a bad shaft in it. You don't know. It could bend really, really bad. We'll see. But first, let me put it in my hackle pliers, and I'll put it right up here. And one of the things that I really envy about some people like Wayne Llewellyn, for example, they're these guys that can take these feathers and stroke them back and get those barbs to point back the way they want. I can't do that to save my life. Just don't work. So anyway, I have to stroke with the side of a scissors. Okay, they're pretty well folded now. All right, let's just get another hook out here. And I'll throw an imaginary body on right about there. I'm going to get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Now I'm just going to take and trim that off real blunt like there, so I can tie that on to just wrap my my wet style collar. I'll pull that up just a little bit and bind it in place. Now we'll just take and start wrapping and folding it into place there. Broke the feather. Very good, Al. But that's all right. We'll just do it again. Okay. Now that is a train wreck. Well, down into the bad part of the thinking I'll need another feather there, Gretch. We'll get that folded. Okay. And now we'll start wrapping it around again. All right, there we go. Now, what we're going to do with this, remember, we won't, I've anchored it just temporarily, like I was going to do a dog leg. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unwrap that and wrap the feather around the thread. Now that we've got it in position. But first I want to take my comb and just kind of get some of these barbs kind of swept back a little bit because it's all right. Now let's unwrap this. All right, there we go. Now, remember, we want it to come around the feather or the thread and point towards the hiding place. The hiding place is back to the left. We'll do it one more time. Pull it back. Now wrap the feather and the thread together. It's anchored. 2 turns. Done. Now let me get my
When you cut the rachis, right, you're going broadside to it, or are you going perpendicular to it and then cutting it off that way? I mean, with the edge point of the scissors.
I just place the edge of the scissors against the rachis and snap it against that. I don't know what you're asking me, Bill.
Oh, the position of the blade reference to the rachis.
The sharp edge of the blade goes against the rachis, and then I bend the rachis against the sharp edge.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to move into the next part of the presentation, and that is when we wrap the hackle backward. As in, let's say you wrap a hackle like you do on an elk hair caddis, for example, where you tie it on at the front and wrap it to the back. Well, let me get one here and we'll get it.
Maybe you could talk while you did this a little bit about the perfect head size, the length, shape, whatever. Can you do that? We have a question.
Okay. Let me get started here, get this tied on. Perfect head size. The perfect head size is never any longer than the width of the eye. And that is at the maximum. If you can get that head to be less than the width of an eye, you're much better off.
We're talking dry flies here.
Correct.
There are some other flies that you do different stuff, but
Okay, now what I'm doing, I notice that I tied the feather on at the front, and I'm putting an imaginary body, and now I'm going to wrap back to meet the thread. Remember, the tie wrap system is strictly wrapping around the thread to the back in a direction that allows it to be hidden in this area. And this time we're going to be hiding it back here rather than to the left, it's to the right. So now we have to wrap around, but remember it passes between me and the thread. And then it goes around again and passes between me and the thread. And now I'm going to advance the thread and the feather together. It's tied off, it's anchored as tight as it's ever going to be. And Bill, sharp edge against the oh, I got one fiber that I followed. That was there. Okay, it's not in trouble. Okay, I'm going to place the edge against the feather and just snap it off. And that's how you do that. Well, that didn't come out looking very good on camera. It looks a lot better right here, but anyway. Any questions? Okay, we've got one more place that I want to show that it really helps a lot. And then we'll go into tying a pattern in which some of these will be incorporated.
Al, while you're getting ready, what is the perfect shape for the perfect head? I hear a lot of people talk about cone shape. Is that correct?
I don't even know what cone shaped is. It should be V-shaped with the point of the V towards the hook eye and the V pointing back towards the body.
so the cone shape, the fat part of the cone back towards the body and the
Right.
narrower part of the cone by the eye.
Thank you.
Okay. Now let's get that off of there. Get another hook. When you're applying ostrich and peacock, I'm going to explain the problem, and then and the fix is the tie wrap. And we're going to put on, to start with, I'm going to use single strand floss. Because you can do it with floss just like you can with thread. And I'm just going to wrap back there and stop. Now I want to get some peacock. Just one strand of peacock here. And I'll have that little ridge facing forward. I'll tie this on. And I'll start wrapping forward the meat. Let me get my glasses on. No wonder I can't see. There we go. And as it wraps forward, now here's where you run into trouble is right here. Okay, you want to tie that off, and you want to do one of two things. You want to try to trim that off so it doesn't leave much of a bump, but it's going to leave a bump. And you're going to try to wrap it forward. And I want you to notice that you're going to have something right here, or you're going to try to hide it and wrap forward at the same time. And what usually ends up happening is you've got barbs of the feather showing through on the body. Real pain in the butt. But let's go back to the tie wrap system. Okay, now remember, our hiding place is to the left. So behind and forward. Second time, behind and back to the hiding place, wrap the feather in the thread together.
Oh, that showed up really good.
And now let me break that off. And now we're going to put the second part of the body on. Now this part of it's not nearly as important, but we'll do it that way again anyhow. And remember, it comes around behind, faces the hiding place, behind, around to the hiding place, wrap the two together. And now you've got two that are very clean all the way on the body and either end. Good applications. Any questions?
Oops. You got it.
Questions? None. Okay, now we're going to tie a real fly. We're no more of this stuff to improve your fly tying. We're just going to tie a real fly.
Are you gonna do a parachute?
Nope.
Oh, you're not gonna talk about the parachute.
No, I'll get to the parachute if I get to it later.
Okay.
My time is starting to get a little bit shy here.
Oh, yep.
You're good, Al.
Okay. Now on the fly pattern that we're going to do tonight, the Hair-Wing Royal Coachman. Now this is not a Royal Wolf. It's a Hair-Wing Royal Coachman dry fly hook, whatever size you want. The thread is black and white. You'll find out why white in just a minute. And the tail is golden pheasant. Body is floss and peacock. Wings are calf, could be tail or body. Hackle is brown, black thread. Let's see what we can do with that. Okay. Now, let's get over here at the materials and take a quick look at it. We've got the white thread, black thread, single strand floss, tail materials. And something that's very important whenever working with hair and you live in the Rocky Mountain West, static guard. It eliminates static electricity. For those of you guys living in Louisiana and in Port Macquarie, Australia, or in Florida, you probably don't have to worry about lack of humidity. You've got plenty of it. Well, here we have almost no humidity, and we need to spray things down to get rid of static electricity. And that's what I'm doing right now, so that the hair won't stick to me and everything else won't stick to me. Anyway, I'm going to start tying the fly with white thread. I'm going to explain to you why as we get a little bit further into it. Why would I do that? Well, I often see people tie a white wing fly, and they tie it with black hackle, and I think it doesn't look nearly as nice and professional if you've got a black feather or black thread wrapped around the base of the wing. So I'm just going to start my thread base right there at the 1/3 point where I want the wings to be placed. And I'm going to wrap part of the way to the back of the hook. Now over in the materials section, I am going to grab my golden pheasant tippet, take it back to the vise, and we're just going to pull some of that out to make our tail. There we go. And I'll measure it for length, and I want that to be about as long as the complete hook. It's a hackle fiber tail, a little bit longer than a hair tail. And I want you to notice something. All too often, I see flies that are tied with the golden pheasant. And I want you to notice that on one side of the golden pheasant, here we go. It's kind of dull on one side, and it's bright and shiny on the other side. Well, if you tie this on with tight wraps, all of the dull side and shiny sides change places, and they're all over the place. Some are this way, some are that way. But if you will do what we call buffer zoning, I wrap this on with gentle wraps. Going to continue putting it on with gentle wraps. These are very gentle wraps, almost no pressure, just enough to hold it in place, but not enough to cause these barbs to twist. Now I'm going to use the buffering action that I get from those soft wraps to put tight wraps over the top of them, and the tight wraps affect the thread on top only, so I'll have a nice, beautiful tail anchored in place by very tight wraps with a buffer of gentle wraps between. So you see, we don't have any of these barbs changing, so one barb is dull and the next one's nice and all of that. Not that anybody ever notices, but if you're wanting your flies to look at their absolute best, that's just another one of those cute little tricks. All it took was just a few soft wraps before we put on the tight wraps. It's called, we call it, Gretchen and I call that buffer zones. You put a soft in between, or you do whatever. Anyway, back over with the materials. I'm going to dig into my tailing material, and I'm just going to cut a chunk of that off. And I've got a lot of waste that I need to get rid of there. So what I'm going to do is, let's get back over here at the vise. You notice that I've got really long hair fibers right here and here, and then they start to get shorter and fuzzier and all this kind of stuff. Well, the only thing I want to use if I want a really good looking fly is layers 1 and 2, and everything else gets thrown away. So you can see what all I'm getting rid of there. You see how much is going away, how much is staying? Quite a difference. The reason you do that is no matter what the hair type is, there's different layers in that hair, and they have different properties, and they react to tension of thread differently. So layers 1 and 2 will react the same to the tension of the thread. That's all we care about. We'll get rid of that other stuff. We may want it for something else, and there are times when you'll probably use that, but for right now, we're just using layers 1 and 2. Now I'm going to put them into a stacker and get those all stacked up. And I always get this question as if I would be willing to sell one of my stackers. That's just a 12 gauge shell, a 1/2-inch copper nipple, and a chapstick tube. No, it's not for sale. And we'll just get that ready to tie into place. Okay, bind them in place as tight as I can. Now I want to trim at a very steep and severe angle so that I get a nice long tapered slope to my trimmed off hair fibers, so that I will get a gentle slope to my underbody. And that, you see how that all blends together real nice? Get a nice one. So we're going to get a nice smooth body. If I had reached in, instead of trimming like this, if I had reached in like that, I would have a big lump right here right now, and I'd have a heck of a time trying to cover that up with peacock. But anyway, now let's get up to here where we really need the white thread, and that is to stand this hair up and divide it. Okie dokie. Now I'm just going to kind of spread this out and find a middle point. Do a crisscross between them. And in fact, I did a half of a crisscross because I'm just going to take this far side wing and wrap it a couple of times. Set it in place, anchor it in place with a couple of turns. Take the near side wing, anchor it in place with a couple of turns. And those wings seem to look pretty good. They'll do until, yep, those are good. Glad to do it. Now I'm going to switch, but I want you to notice though, as you look down into in between those wings, no black thread showing up. It's just, when you get the fly completely tied, you'll look down into there, and it'll look like those wings were divided magically. They just divided themselves. When you know that that's far from the case. And that's why we use the white thread on everything, and we do it for all of our commercial patterns as well as our personal ones. But now I'm going to switch to tying with single strand floss. And you're going to get to see a repeat of what we did just a minute ago. Trim that off. Set the thread aside. And I'll get another piece of this peacock. Let's see. Well, this looks like a better one right up here. And again, I am going to take this this edge right here and have it pointing up or forward, whichever way you want to call it. And I'll just tie that in place. And now I'm going to wrap. I'll wrap it after I tie it back on because I just pulled it out. All right, there we go. And a couple more turns. I'm going to do a tie wrap. But remember, the hiding place is back here to the left. Another one around the thread. Back to the left, wrap the feather and the floss at the same time. Let's get another piece of peacock. And we'll take a couple of turns with that. Now I'll switch to my black thread, which is, well, I want the fly to look like it was tied with black thread, but it had to go through some gyrations to get there. All right, now that makes a fairly clean looking body with no little bumps in it. And all I did is wrap the material around the thread rather than the other way. No bumps in there in the back, especially where you're trying to cover up one that's tied off. Now let me get a hackle here. I got several right here. That looks like a good one. Set it aside. I got somebody asked a little while ago about the feather that twists. I want you to take a good look at this feather right here. This feather right here is very definitely different here than it is here. In fact, you can see more web here than you do up here. If you start trying to use that right here where it's real webby, there's a chance it's going to twist on you. But if you start using it where you have probably only about 20% web or less in the length of the overall barb, then you're going to be good to go. So I am going to strip that off. Now I'm going to go to the other side. That's the side that goes against the hook, and give it a little bit more of a strip. Tie this on. It's interesting. My good friend Eric Austin is on tonight. Ties an absolutely gorgeous eastern fly that has a lot less turns of hackle on it than we do here in the West. When we do a Western version, they tend to get a little, tend to be hackled just a little bit heavier. Anyway, I'm just going to work this feather forward. I'm going to show you a trick here. Often you will end up with a bare area under the far wing when you wrap your hackle. Well, here's how to fix that so it never happens. As I wrapped up to the wing, I'll take a wrap in front. Now I'll go and make another wrap behind the wing and then continue my trip forward to meet the thread at the front of the hook. And I'm going to have to grab this with a hackle pliers. It's starting to get a little bit short, and my old fingers don't hold things as well as they used to. Okay, remember, you wrap around the back and to the front, pointing in the direction of the hiding place. Around, wrap both together. It's anchored. Snagged that doggone couple of fibers there when I was bringing the whip finish around. I didn't want to do that. And now you've got a royal hair-wing royal coachman.
Oh, I love them old patterns like that.
And one of the things that I wanted to point out again, whoops,
Oh,
I'll put that back in the vise after I get all the trash off it because it fell down in the waste bin. Lucky I could find it. Jesus. Okay, there we go.
excuse
All
me.
right. What I wanted to show you is that look at that tail all the way around. It's all nice, clean, bright colors pointing out. All the dull colors are on the inside. And how do you do that? The buffer zone. And that was a bonus for tonight.
Notice that the length from the body to the eye is less than the width. And would you point out the diameter that you're talking about of the hook eye? There's some question about that.
Oh, okay, got it. Let's see if I can get this so you can.
Yeah, there you go. You can see it
Okay.
now. Where's the point?
The width of the hook eye is, I'm going to spread my right there is the width of the hook eye. You don't want that any longer than that. In fact, that's on the ragged edge of too long. And I want you to notice that the one we have here is a very nice one, nicely done head, and it's only about a third that dimension. That one we get a very good score. And as you can see, I probably could have tied it off with one turn of thread. I mean, if I wanted to get crazy about it, because all the anchoring is done with the feather wrapped around the piece of thread. One turn of thread and it's anchored as good as it's going to get. Questions?
Yeah, Al, can you explain the difference between the royal wolf and the fly you tied?
Yes. The only difference in the royal wolf and this fly is there is a tail made out of either moose, elk, or deer hair rather than the golden pheasant tippets.
Yep.
And also wanted to point out what you'd also, when you use that white thread for going down the body, then when you go over it with the red silk, it keeps that black thread from dulling that middle part of the body, because usually when silk gets wet, it allows what's below it to show through.
Correct. Jim is so right on that. One of the things, in fact, we have a whole series of flies that we do in a clinic that we teach, in which it's nothing but the end color that you start out. As an example, if you start out with a dark olive and yellow, and you wrap the yellow over the dark olive, you will get the most wonderful highlighted light olive color that you've ever seen, but it's got to be wet to see it. And it's the two colors and how they work together. And it also is important as to which one's underneath. And Jim is so right. There's an awful lot of flies that are done. If you want your colors to remain true to the color that they are when they're wet, then they should have either a silver tinsel underbody or a white underbody. If you put anything else, it's going to affect the color when they get wet. Anything else?
Al, you said that you potentially might have a little bit on parachutes. Can you give us a few tips on that real quick?
Yep, we can do that.
Also, somebody else wants to talk about fly proportions. Maybe you can do that as you tie the
Okay,
parachute.
what am I talking? What's the question on
Can you
proportions?
talk about the overall fly proportions.
Okay, well, let's start first with this. Fly proportions. The best ruler that you'll ever have for fly proportions is the hook that's sitting in front of you. And this is, and we measure those fly proportions based on different parts of the hook. Remember, I just a moment ago gave the dimensions of the eye of the hook, or the head of the fly in relation to the eye of the hook. Well, as an example, on this fly, let me get him back up here. On this fly here, remember I said the tail is equal to the length of the complete hook? Well, the complete hook is from right there where the arrow points at the front of the eye to where you see that arrow from the bend. That's the complete hook. If you're tying something that's equal to the shank, you'll notice that that's going to be shorter than the complete hook. If you're tying on something with a proportion and you want to make it so it's equal to the gap, there it is. Almost everything has something to do with either the gap, the full length of the hook, the shank of the hook, or the eye.
And throw to the barb sometimes.
Sometimes the throw to the barb, and very seldom do they identify throw to the barb. But if you look at where that arrow points up to that bare space between the point of the barb and the hook itself, and it forms a little V down in there, well, the V is a throw to the barb. And then that's if your hook has got a barb. And if you take a pair of pliers and pinch down the barb, well, then the throat went away. Or it's hidden anyhow. But anyway, back here, there's that. And before I get into the parachutes, any more questions on this?
Well, what about how, what proportion is the body to how much hackle, the area for the hackle?
Okay. On a Western dry fly, the front 1/3 of the hook shank is allocated for wings and dry fly hackle. And the back 2/3 is for body, and then the tail extends to the back behind the hook. How far it extends back is based on what it's made out of. If it's made out of hair, it's equal to the shank. If it's made out of hackle barbs, then it's longer. And how much longer? I have read information on it that says anywhere from 1.5 to more than longer than the shank, than whatever. I always use just the length of the hook. And one of the things that's important, be consistent, whatever you're doing. Don't have one that's 1.5 times and the next one equal to the length of the hook, because 1.5 times is definitely longer than the complete hook.
Okay, let's go to the parachute now,
Yeah,
maybe.
let's go to the parachute. I think we probably covered this one enough. All right. Now the parachute. I have here a parachute post already tied on a hook. There's no fly. All we're going to do is talk about a parachute hackle. Parachutes are another whole discipline, if you will, and And the reason I didn't get into the parachute early on is, remember the rule in the tie wrap system where you wrap around the thread with the hackle pointing towards the hiding place? The parachute can be a little bit confusing in that, and I'll get it ready to go here and I'll explain to you why. That can be just a bit confusing. Anyway. Now, I haven't sized this hackle, so it may not be the right size for this hook, and I don't really care. All I'm doing is getting ready to tie a parachute the way I tie them. And the way I tie them is I tie the feather onto the front. First off, I want you to notice that I have a fairly long length of shaft there that's been stripped. And I'll just tie that onto the front. And now I'm going to wrap up the post, taking my feather with me so that it gets attached to the top of the post. Now I want you to see where my feather is hanging and or where my thread is hanging, and the feather is going to be there in just a minute. We're going to bring that feather down to meet the thread. Okay. Now, one of the things that's really important is to identify where the hiding place is. Again, it's right here. We'll do it again. It's right there. And now we have to wrap around the hook while binding all of that to the hook. Now let's get over here so you can see. That makes a nice clean bottom to your fly. But it's a little bit more difficult to demonstrate because of that. But because you're hiding your waist back in this wrapped hackle, you don't have these pieces of fiber sticking down like, well, here, sticking down like,
Yeah.
like that. How many times do you tie the parachute and it looks like that? Well, I've done it 1,000 times, more than that. And this system just cleaned our parachutes up so much, I can't believe
That's
it.
something you're gonna have to practice.
And it's one you got to practice. It just doesn't, for me anyway, maybe there's something wrong with my brain. It just does not come easy, but you get a nice clean parachute every time.
Well, it looks messy when you do it, but it turns out.
It turns out, yeah.
It's the best way to.
Anyhow, any questions then?
That's perfect.
time-
Thanks, Al.
Time for your surprise?
Yes, there is time for the surprise because we've been talking about waste management for all evening. Everything in tying a better fly is how you manage your waste. And well, I can't remember who the fellow was, so I'm going to have to thank an unknown person for helping me out with another form of waste management. And that is the little pieces of stuff that you trim off of the fly, and they drop sometimes in a waste bin and sometimes on the floor. And what we really need to do is have them going into a waste bin. And I discovered last week when I was tying in a whole new environment with an antique machine that I had behind me here, that it was really difficult to come up with a waste situation for it. It didn't have a waste bin that fit on the thing. So I set a little box up on top, and I was constantly knocking that box off, stuff all over the floor. In fact, I just vacuumed in here a little bit before we went on tonight to get all the junk that ended up on the floor until I remembered this trick. This trick is a device that you can get off of Amazon. It's nice and flat right here. So imagine that my hand is a tabletop. You set that up on the tabletop, clamp it in place with a clamp, set your pedestal base on top, or whatever. The handiest little thing I've ever seen, $1.25 on Amazon. It is a dispose-a-scoop for following your dog around. chuckle away, guys. It is one of the handiest waste bins you're ever going to find. They're 8 for $10 on Amazon. By the way, there's a link in the chat. I put it there just for you in case you wanted to get one. It's $1.25 a piece. And if you're real cheap about it, for $5 you can get 4 of them. And then you can give 4 to your buddy and charge him $2 a piece and make all your money back.
It's great for traveling. I just think
Great,
for
absolute travel is perfect. And anyway, and this is the clip that I used all week. I mean, it came out of my shop. It just clamps right in place on the tabletop. In fact, I clamped it in like this, and it just clamped it right to the tabletop. It was slicker than could be.
What do you call it again?
Okay, it's in the chat, the link, but it's called Dispose a Scoop.
I love it.
All I can tell you, and you knew that I was going to joke a little bit because Al does joke a little bit from time to time. However, this is sort of a chuckle that there's not a chuckle. It really does a job.
Yeah. I've got a small little waste receptacle that clamps on my one vise, and sometimes it's a real pain. I can see where that would be much better.
Well, we're gonna now we're back to where we can just chat ever how you guys want to. I would like to do one thing though before we get out of here. So for my recording, let me go back to a spotlight and let me do a closing so I've got something to capture for the video. Just a minute here. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us. For now, it's a wrap. Until next time, we'll be looking forward to seeing you. Take care now. All right.
somebody says they don't see a link for the scoop. It's way up at the top.
It's the very, very top.
Let's go up there, make sure it's still there.
Yeah, you'll find that at the very, very, very top is the Buszek Library page.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to talk about that. And then there's one from Mike after that. And then after that, it's Dispose a Scoop with a link.
Al, I just added it for everybody because if they came in after you did that, they won't see it.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you, Barry.
Oh,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I
if they
didn't
came
realize.
into the session after you posted it, it doesn't go back and re-add the chats.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't, Barry, thank you. I just learned something and I thought I was pretty well versed on Zoom and I'm not.
Yeah, we all
Anyway.
learn when we get caught up in that stuff. I've had that before, did presentations. People said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see that. And you figure out that, well, if they logged
Got
in
it.
after you posted it, it won't show.
Yeah.
Well, again, if you need to know, you want to review, go to the Buszek, go to the Fly Fishers International, to the Buszek library, and you'll find a description on everything that we showed you tonight, along with a video. So, enough of that. Back to you, Rick.
Okay. Real quick, Al, before we get off of here, I just need to chat with you for a second after we get everybody else gone, just for 5 seconds.
Sure.
Anyway, any more questions? Any questions of Al? Any questions about what we're doing here with this techniques program or anything?
Al and Gretchen, thanks again. Just a wonderful master's class on doing heads.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's all we want to do is have all of you walk away tonight with something that you can do that doesn't take one bit more skill than you had before you walked into the clinic, but you can improve your flies by 20%, and you've got it.
And you can work on that parachute and get real frustrated. Think of us.
Well, I'm doing a lot of parachute stuff right now, so that was perfect. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that myself.
Well, the parachute one, if you try to leave the parachute in the normal position on the hook, like right there, if you're looking at my little screen up above there,
It's
look-
blank. Oh, there it is.
yeah. Let me spotlight it again so that
Yeah.
everybody can see it, because it could very well be that. Okay, if you're trying to tie your hackle and do the tie wrap system with your parachute position in the normal position like this, I get so doggone confused. I don't know whether do I go up or down or do I go around. But if I flip it up in the at the up and down angle like I showed you, it's very easy then to keep track of which way is going wrapping around and which way is going into the hiding place. So that's just a tip for you. Let me get this spotlight
good.
removed.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, that was excellent, Al. Everything that I was hoping for. So
Good.
it was well worth it. Just real quickly, anybody have any real quick tips you want to share before we sign off? Okay. Due to technical difficulties, our next session will be instead on November 19th, 2024. Mike Kelly will be our instructor, and he's going to share his techniques for tying Matuka style flies. Mike does a really good job, and we look forward to seeing him and appreciate him taking his time. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for your time and for your patience. And if anybody is interested at some point in time to do what Al did tonight, please let me know. I'd love to add you to the list of folks that are with that. You guys have a great week. Be safe and watch out for hurricanes, tornadoes, or snowstorms. Yeah, make sure you're here on Friday night with Al and his program, that's on my schedule. I'm not missing it. That's all there is to it. So, and I will and see you later.
Thanks everybody and good night.
Good night.